Hey, please continue to eat, enjoy the meal, but we are going to get started because we have a very tight schedule, as always, for one of these things. So welcome back. My name is Jim Roney. I'm your general chair of this event for this year and for next year. I'm a member of the Rotary Club of Northeast Maryland. Hey, Northeast. Northeast is a town, it is not a direction. So, our Chamber of Commerce president, Tracy Reynolds, is right here, my executive coordinator, so she will tell you, come to Northeast. Yeah, this large group, this is just such a fantastic group now that you've been able to come and enjoy yourselves. It's good to see old friends. It's great to meet new folks. I hope you really enjoy this weekend and take advantage of all the expertise that's in this room as you start your journey now towards July 1st and your new leadership roles. Now, those of you that have known me for a long while, I take my cue from my longtime Rotary mentor, Eric Grubb, and I'm a bit of a stickler when it comes to Rotary protocol. Well, I'm going to break the rule right from the beginning on introductions. The first introductions I want to make, will all of the president-elects in the room please stand? Please stay standing for just a moment. We want to congratulate you and thank you for taking the leadership role in your club. It's going to be a great year for you. Your leadership and your willingness to serve is outstanding, and we want to recognize that. But I also want you to recognize everyone else. Look around the room, and everybody that's standing, these are your classmates. These are the folks that are going to be in the same boat come July 1st as you. And you can use these folks to help support you and bounce ideas off of, complain about your club, praise your club, and you'll have great networking. But now take a look at everyone that's still seated. Okay? Everyone that's still seated, this is your support network. It's not just for this weekend, but this is your support network for the next year. These folks are your district governors, your assistant governors, your trainers and faculty. These are your Chesapeake CPETS staff. Every one of us is committed to one goal, and that's to make you shine come July 1st. We've all been there. We all have our war stories. We have our tales of success and our tales of failure. But most of all, we have time. We have time that is yours. All you have to do is ask us. We are here for you, and we are your willing support. So thank you again for taking your club, and we hope you have a great weekend. Okay, so now back to proper protocol. First, we have an amazing array of distinguished Rotarians with us this weekend. But very first, we'll have a more formal introduction in a moment. But I want to introduce from the Rotary Club of South Queensferry, Scotland, our Rotary International President nominee, Gordon McInally, and his lovely wife, Heather. Thank you so much. Now, also with us, we have our current Rotary International Director from the Rotary Club of, we're at Washington, D.C.? No, Capitol Hill, Washington, D.C., Peter Kyle and his wife, Margaret. Also, direct from the Rotary Club of Naples, Florida, past international director and current chair of the Rotary International Convention in Houston, John Smarge. And last but certainly not least, from up in my neck of the woods, from the Rotary Club of Media, PA, past Rotary International Director, Jeffry Cadorette. Now I'd like to introduce our district governors, because this is their weekend. And this is a group of Rotarians I've had the pleasure of working with over the past 8 months to get this thing organized. And they put in a tremendous amount of work on PETS, but at the same time, they're trying to get themselves organized for their year as your governor. And I'm going to do this in the proper order. From the Rotary Club of Ocean City, Berlin, District Governor 7630, Governor Cliff Bird. From the Capitol Hill Rotary Club in Washington, D.C., District 7620, Sean McAllister. From the Rotary Club of Vienna, Virginia, in District 7610, DGE Sheila Brennan. Hey. And from the Rotary Club of Richmond, Virginia, 7600, Kenny Janes. Now, I'll be making other introductions as we go through the weekend, but there's one person I want to recognize now before we go any further, because this gentleman did not get the proper recognition last year. Claude Morissette has been the chair of Chesapeake PETS for the past 2 years, and last year, of course, we were on Zoom, so we never really got the opportunity to thank him for his service. So from the Rotary Club of Potomac, Maryland, past district governor and past chair, Claude Morissette. Hey, now I'd like to ask Kenny to please come up and make an introduction.
Thank you, Jim. Fellow Rotarians, I have the privilege and the honor to introduce our President, Rotary International designate, Gordon McInally. Now, he's been to y'all's, wait a minute. Let's see, we haven't done Zoom. We've done Zoom. I just want to make sure I see everybody correctly. But he's visited all your districts already. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on his bio either, because it's in the brochure. But I will tell you this, when I read his bio and learned what he did as a profession, he was a dentist. I don't know about, well, I was scared to death. You know, when I think about a dentist, I get very scared. He came to last night and then to our district session this morning, and he's an all right guy. Very nice. And not only that, if you have the privilege of meeting his wife, she's incredible. So I want to recognize her at this time as well. So one of the things that really impressed me about Gordon was the fact that, and even he talks about this, and even in his bio, that he talks about the work that he's done with Rotary. And what's important to that is the fact that he realizes and he recognizes Heather and the family, that he couldn't do what he's done without their support, and also the colleagues that he's worked with. And I think if you're incoming as president-elects, you're going to feel the same way. You got to have, as Jim said, that support group to support you in your year. And it's pretty impressive that Gordon recognizes that and really made an emphasis to recognize your family. They have 2 daughters, Rebecca and Sarah, and 2 granddaughters, Ivy and Florence, that they talk a lot about. The other thing that he mentions is the love of golf and whiskey. So with that said, I'm not going to take any more time because I realize you want to hear from him and not me, and I don't blame you. But from Chesapeake PETS, typically we try to give our speakers a glass of water. We want to give you a bottle of whiskey. So you can drink before or after the presentation. Would you all rise and welcome Gordon McInally to the desk.
But I would walk 500 miles and I would walk 500 more to be the man who walked 1,000 miles.
Wow, thank you so much. Well, thank you for such a warm welcome. It's a great pleasure, and I mean this most sincerely, a great pleasure for Heather and I to be here at Chesapeake CPETS this weekend. To be honest, it's a great pleasure to be anywhere this weekend. We've all spent far too long on our computer screens over the last 2 years, and it's just so good once again to be together. And Kenny, thank you for that very generous and far too kind introduction. I have to say, even after 5 months, there is still a certain surreal quality about being introduced as the president nominee of Rotary International. I don't know if any of you remember a movie from a few years back starring my fellow Scot, Robbie Coltrane. Robbie Coltrane, who may be better known to you as Hagrid from the Harry Potter movies, was a local priest in a small village in the very north of Italy when, by some slip of a pen at a papal conclave in Rome, he was made pope. And I must confess, over the past 5 months in the wee hours of the morning, I've often wondered if a similar slip of a pen might have taken place in Evanston last August at the nominating committee for RI president. Now, in the event, Robbie Coltrane made a rather good job of being pope, and I only hope there's a similar happy ending to my journey as RI president. But I guess we'll know the answer to that in 2.5 years' time. In fact, we might know the answer to that in around about 20 minutes' time. But it's a particular pleasure today to have the opportunity to speak to such a large group of district and club leaders, because with the greatest respect to all of Rotary's senior leadership, I believe that the district and club leaders are the most important, because it's within the districts and especially the clubs that the work of Rotary is done. In fact, and as I've been saying in many places, including your meetings this morning, the clubs are the bedrock of Rotary. Now, you're going to have many opportunities during the course of today and tomorrow and on other occasions in the lead up to the 1st of July to become the very best leaders you can be, and to share with and to learn from each other to ensure you make your clubs the very best clubs they can be. And of course, by being the best leader you can be, you will inspire other leaders to follow you. And by making your clubs the best clubs they can be, you will inspire others to join Rotary and to join us and to give them the opportunity we have all enjoyed, and allowing Rotary to do even more service at a time when there has probably never been a greater need for Rotary in our world. As I prepared for today's event, I realized it was exactly 31 years ago I was attending CPETS in my own district in the southeast of Scotland, preparing to serve as club president, as a fresh-faced 33-year-old dentist who wanted to change the world. Rotary had its challenges even back then, but these were days when change was resisted. And I found it very hard to change the way the Rotary Club of which I was a member thought or operated, despite my relatively youthful optimism. I still remember the deathly silence as I brought my first address to that club as president to a rousing conclusion and unfurled a banner produced by my then 7- and 5-year-old daughters Sarah and Rebecca that said, "Just do it." The Rotary Club of South Queensferry wasn't quite ready to just do it back then. And I think at that moment the members wondered just what they were getting as their president. For them it was very much a case of steady as she goes, and they didn't want their particular Rotary boat rocked too much. So that is why I envy you, at the fact that you're going to be lucky enough to be leading at a time when everyone is, or at least everyone should be, ready to embrace change. And embrace change we must, for without it, the future of Rotary could be bleak. Change can be daunting, but it can also be exciting. It can be energizing. So embrace it, thrive on it, because it must happen, and it must happen now, before it's too late. The phrase, "build back better," has been used by many of the world's governments recently to describe just how things might look in a post-pandemic world. In fact, I think next to "you're on mute," it's probably the phrase we have heard most over the last 2 years. But as far as Rotary is concerned, it shouldn't be a question of building back better, but rather of building forward better. Building back implies a return to the way things were. I don't see that as an option. We need to learn from our collective experiences during the COVID pandemic as we take Rotary forward and establish what will be a new normal. It would be a tragedy if we don't learn from the last 24 months. A tragedy and a travesty. We owe so much more than that to those who have gone before us. And there's another group that we owe much more than that to. I don't need to remind you that not far short of 6 million people have died worldwide from COVID-19. These people were mothers, they were fathers, they were husbands, they were wives, they were brothers, they were sisters. In many cases, they were our fellow Rotarians. Surely, for them, there must be a legacy that for each and every one of them, we can go forward in a better way rather than just return to doing things the way we used to. So what of the future? I hear a lot of people saying that they have a fear we may be just at the beginning of the challenges with which COVID has presented us as we start to build back our communities and our world. But we should have nothing to fear. In the coming months, the governments of the world will seek to rebuild our societies and our communities. In many cases, communities have actually been strengthened by the challenges of the last 2 years, but not all have. And so the big question is, who's going to rebuild the weakened communities? Who's going to heal the rifts and divisions exposed by the pandemic? Who's going to reach across the divide? Who's going to rebuild a sense of unity that says we can and we will make a difference in the lives of those around us? Well, I would suggest, as Rotarians, we are among the best positioned to lead the rebuilding, the reforming, and the reshaping that's going to be needed in our communities. It's who we are, and it's what we do. In fact, you could say we were built for this. But of course, to carry out that rebuilding, we need strong Rotary clubs, and that's where you come in. This pandemic has given us a unique chance to draw a line in the sand and review exactly how we operate. And I firmly believe that as we navigate out of it, there are many, many ways we can change for the better and strengthen our clubs, strengthen that bedrock. We've got what is probably a one-off chance just now to engage with those who, during the pandemic, have embraced the concept of volunteer service and have them join us to allow them to continue giving service. We're fortunate just now that there's so much opportunity to look at club models that don't need to be bound by style of meeting or by geography or by suitability of a venue. In addition to helping us re-engage with our existing members, this will also allow us to engage with a whole new audience, An audience that maybe doesn't want to meet every week. An audience that maybe doesn't want to dine. An audience that maybe doesn't want to meet face to face at all, but which would rather meet in a method that suits them. An audience that wants to do things and be people of action rather than just meet for the sake of meeting. I see Rotary clubs, groups, call them what you will, existing everywhere in a style to suit everyone who has the desire to be a part of us and help us fulfill our mission in the world. And that is why I envy you, as you have the power to use that flexibility and grow Rotary in your clubs and neighbourhoods, and in doing so, give more service to the world. It's all about caring. We need to care for our members, new and existing. And by caring for each other, we can care for the world. One special opportunity I would dearly like us to take in the post-pandemic world is to work better together. I've always been a great advocate of continuity in Rotary. I've tried to practice it at every level of Rotary leadership, be it club, district, or zone. I believe strongly in the concept of Rotary's years, plural, where there's a seamless transition between members, leaders, rather than the concept of my year, singular, where one individual takes us in one direction, another individual takes us another direction, and a third individual frequently brings us back to where we started. Where individuals will not embark on an initiative that they don't complete in their year, because they're worried they won't get the credit for it. I might remind you that Waldo Emerson, the 19th century philosopher, said, "There is no limit to what can be achieved if it doesn't matter who gets the credit." And I agree with that. I'm not bothered who gets the credit for something, as long as that something is done properly and is worthwhile. And accordingly, I'm already working with President-elect Jennifer and look forward to continuing to do so with my successor whenever he or she is identified, in a true spirit of continuity that sees Rotary move forward in a straight and steady course towards an even better future. And I would urge each one of you to do the same in your Rotary clubs. My friends, and I do hope I'm not being overly presumptuous in using that term, I know my time is limited, but I hope you will indulge me if I go slightly off-piste for a minute or two and say something about a topic that has been an important part of Rotary's continuity for many years, something that's in our very DNA, and that is the topic of peace building. I'm sure, like me, each of you has been horrified by the terrible news out of Eastern Europe regarding the Russian invasion of Ukraine and the ramifications of such an outrage. What has society become that we see defenseless, frightened children cowering in corners in a subway station to escape the horrors unfolding above them? Peace is such a fragile community and a fragile commodity. We live in a time of unprecedented technological advances, but sadly, we also live in a time of destruction and human suffering too. Rotary, with its global reach, must help the world live together in peace and in friendship and in love if we're to leave a proper legacy for our children and our children's children. Humanity that has grown up scientifically and technologically now needs to grow up even more by pointing the whole human race beyond the petty divisions of nepotism, race, and creed. Too many people in this world have experienced the atrocities of war and terrorism. But thankfully, Rotarians are committed to working for peace. And never forget, peace is much more than the absence of war and armed conflict. Peace is freedom. Peace is healthy children and adults. Peace is clean water and sufficient food. Peace is education, human rights, dignity, clothing, housing, and concern for mankind. But most of all, peace is love. The late Martin Luther King Jr. once said, and I quote, "We must discover the power of love, the redemptive power of love. And when we discover that, we'll be able to make of this old world a new world, for love is the only way." End quote. There is power in love. Don't underestimate it. Don't over-sentimentalize it. There is power in love. Power in love to help and heal when nothing else can. Power in love to lift up and liberate when nothing else will. Power in love to show us the way to live. If you don't believe me, just stop for a moment and, to use a word that we're hearing a lot in Rotary circles just now, imagine. Imagine a world where love is the way. Imagine homes and families where love is the way. Imagine neighborhoods and communities where love is the way. Imagine governments and nations where love is the way. Where love is the way, no child will go to bed hungry in this world ever again. When love is the way, justice will flow like a mighty river. When love is the way, poverty will become history. And when love is the way, there is plenty room for everyone. Because when love is the way, when peace is the way, we actually treat each other like family. And what better aspirations could we as Rotarians have? What greater hope could we as Rotarians give than to create a world with a sense of love and peace and family? As I've traveled around the world on a virtual basis over the last few months, I've often quoted the late US Senator Robert Kennedy, and I make no apologies for doing so again today. Kennedy, whilst addressing the University of Cape Town in South Africa in June of 1966, said, and I quote, "Like it or not, we live in interesting times. They are times of danger and uncertainty, but they are also the most creative of any time in the history of mankind. And everyone here will ultimately be judged, will ultimately judge themselves on the effort they have contributed to building a new world and the extent to which their ideals and goals have helped shape that effort." End quote. 56 years on from Kennedy's address, in these current times of danger and uncertainty, let us recognize that they are also among the most creative of any time in the history of Rotary. Let us make sure that we are judged on the effort we have contributed to rebuild our broken world and the extent our combined goals and ideals have shaped that effort as we imagine and then create a more peaceful world using all the tools in our Rotary toolbox. I close by returning to my two daughters. When Sarah and Rebecca were young, they used to measure the time until major events in their lives by sleeps. It was never a week until Christmas, it was 7 sleeps. It was never 2 weeks until school ended, it was 14 sleeps. So please don't be surprised and please don't be frightened when I tell you there are 119 sleeps left until the 1st of July and a new Rotary year. I am anxious that during the next Rotary year, Rotary in districts 7600, 7610, 7620 and 7630, and for that matter, Rotary in the entire world, should have its best year ever. But I don't say that for the sake of President-elect Jennifer Jones. And I don't say that for the sake of District Governors-elect Kenny or Sheila or Sean or Cliff. And with the greatest respect, I don't even say it for any one of your sakes. The reason I want next Rotary year to be the very best ever is that by being so, when we all look back on the 30th of June 2023, at the projects we have carried out, at the causes we have championed, at the people we have served, at how we have imagined Rotary, we will do so in the knowledge that we have done our best for the sake of the people who needed us most. We will do so in the knowledge that we have improved their lives and in doing so made the world a better place. Please grasp this opportunity you've been given to lead in your clubs and districts. Be brave and be strong as you imagine Rotary, and above all, enjoy doing it. Thank you once again for this opportunity to speak with you, and thank you once again for the hospitality you have so freely extended to Heather and I over the past couple of days, especially to Steve and Marla, who have looked after us so well and been the most wonderful of aides. Thank you for all you do for Rotary. Each and every one of you is a credit to the badge you wear, and I am very proud to belong to the same organization as you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Wow, that was incredible. One more round of applause, please, guys. So on behalf of Chesapeake PETS, we once again thank you for the opportunity to meet you, to spend some time with you, and for sharing that inspiring message. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Roger. Oh.
Hey, Sheila. Wow. What a message that has been brought to us. The good news is he gave us back 8 minutes. So we thank you for that. Because one of my challenges, I'm Roger Harrell, past district governor, 7630. I'm happy to have my RI director here, John Smarge, and his aide, Claude. We're not sure how we did that, but I digress. Anyway, our sergeants here, I have a co-chair, Mike Jallo. We're here to assist all of you to make sure that you have a great experience with us. We are the lost and found. You find something, find a credit card, I'd love to have it. And if it's Hugh Dawkins's, we'll see what we're going to do with it. Also, very important, we started a tradition several years ago, and we're going to put it together again today, a 50-50 raffle for polio. It's going to be 3 tickets for $5, an arm's length for 20. And then also we have an extra gift, so there'll be a second drawing to entice you. We won't tell you what it is, but the chair has a gift for that as well. So we want you to give us some money. We want to give a lot to polio today. So the Sergeant at Arms, if you see them, we'll be selling tickets, and we want to break the record from 2 years ago. Now, I was going to make a statement, and I will make it. Today is very important that you stay on time. Our sergeants will give you a 5-minute warning before you need to be somewhere, but you need to move in. At lunch, we were a little bit late getting in, but we've made the time up, which is very good. So this afternoon, we're going to give you extra time now to go to your vendors. But at 1:25, you need to start moving to your afternoon session. How do you get there? Each of you probably should have this quick reference guide. And if you have a little number on your badge today, if you're at number 1, you should go to Jeffersonian 1. If you don't know that, ask the sergeants, and we'll see if we can get you to the right place. The last item is that those of you staying at the hotel, if you're not going to use your toiletries, bring them down to the registration desk. We're collecting those, and we'll be donating those to a charity. So we thank you for that. Thank my sergeants in the back with the red vests. We're here to help you have a great afternoon, and be at your session at 1:30, please. Thank you.